All right. Welcome everyone to the Impact Show. We're here. We made it. A couple little technical things get started here. This is a live show, and those things are going to happen apparently. But
They're guaranteed to happen. They're pretty much guaranteed to happen if my experience has been any guide.
But it's all right. We survived it. We're here. So I am Bob Ruffolo. I am the founder and CEO of Impact, an organization completely dedicated to helping growth leaders succeed. So from anything from content to insights to connections, consulting, or full agency services, we got you covered. We've been around for 7 years, and this is just our newest project to help more people, reach more people, and just make more people successful. And I always want to say today is May 11th, 2017, and this is episode 1 of our 24-part series.
It's pretty cool. And I'm here, your co-host here, Bob. Holding it down over here. I'm on the business. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Salvatoriello. I'm on the business development team here at Impact, which means you might hear me doing consultation calls, talking about marketing services, website redesign services, and even coming up with new revenue streams and programs here for the agency. Prior to joining Bob and the team here at Impact, I worked at HubSpot, the partner training program, where I got to know great, awesome agencies like Impact over the years. I was psyched for a chance to join you and your team here in this past January, Bob. I'm psyched, and I'm psyched we're able to do this program.
I'm happy you're on the team. I'm happy we're doing this together, man.
It's cool.
So the Impact Show. So over the next 24 weeks, we're going to be going deep into the topics that matter to growth leaders most. Yes. Some of these topics will include building and getting the most out of your team, getting buy-in from your organization, strategies and tactics that are working right now, agile marketing, and just generally ways to scale your organization. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
Another thing we're going to be covering every show, we're going to lead off the show with this, is we understand that growth leaders, they don't have a lot of time, right? And keeping up with what's going on in the industry tends to be a challenge for growth leaders, and they feel that they fall behind. So we want to solve that a little bit. So at the beginning of every show, Nick and I are going to be sharing one thing each that we're keeping our eye on. This could be things like Google algorithm changes or social platform changes, industry events or news. Things that are coming down the pipe, like marketing automation and machine learning and how that's going to fit into marketing, right? So every week we're going to lead up the show with something that's going to help you stay abreast of what's going on in the industry. This is also supposed to be a very fun show, and it's live. And as you saw, things could go wrong, but more importantly, we really want everyone to be involved in the program. Yes. So if you're watching this, we encourage you, if you're watching it live on Facebook, we encourage you to leave comments and ask questions. Iris Hearn, one of our consultants here at Impact, she is monitoring for the comments. She will respond. But also, if you have a really good question, a really good comment, then she's going to bring it up on the show. She'll either interrupt us, or we have a time set aside to answer live questions at the end of each show.
Yay. Thank you, Iris, for doing that.
So if you also like the show and you're enjoying what we're saying, we encourage you to subscribe. You can either like our Facebook page, or you can also, because this show is going to be republished, it's going to be published as a podcast. So you can subscribe to it as a podcast. It'll be on YouTube, so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, or obviously to the Impact blog, where we're going to post it with all the show notes after.
Yeah, Bob, I'd like to just underscore this point that you and I talked about this whole program for many weeks now before we got live here. And we said that this is an experiment. So it's going to really depend how the show is going to evolve, is going to involve the audience
exactly
here.
Right.
People who consume the content, people who comment to us, or the people who don't. And we said, let's see if this is something that resonates with people. If this is something that people want. And we got the sense that they did. They do want to discuss these topics. They do want some help to stay abreast of these things, because we talk to them about this stuff all the time. So it's an experiment. You help us drive this experiment with your inputs. So I encourage people to do that.
Well, before we jump in, I know you want to share one other thing, Nick. We have something very special coming up.
Oh, very, very special, Bob. And folks, you may have been hearing, if you're close to the Impact community, you may have been hearing a little bit of buzz about this. Impact Live is coming, folks. It's getting closer and closer. It will be in Hartford, capital of Connecticut, great city, from July 31st, where I'll be leading up a workshop day. And then the main event, the Impact Live experience, will be from August 1st to August 2nd. Tickets are available by request. We're trying to have it be a small, intimate group. Go head over to impactbnd.com to learn all about it. Limited seating. We're putting all of our creative energy into it. We'd love to see some of the most dedicated growth leaders there.
And I'm sort of keeping my eye over here on the comments, and I see Janny from Finland is tuning in. So
yes,
welcome, Janny from Finland. Awesome. So like I said, we're going to start off every show with one thing we're keeping an eye on. Yes. And there's one thing I know I've been keeping my eye on that I'm really excited to share. So digital marketer, if anyone follows digital marketer, I am a huge fan. I think what Ryan Dice and the team over there are doing, they're just phenomenal. I subscribe to the DM Lab. And for years, Ryan's had something he's called the customer value optimization funnel. And he's used that with a lot of different businesses. So if you're not familiar with the customer value optimization funnel, it's this model where you take your core offer, and every business has that core offer that they're offering, right? And what you do is you kind of splinter that back. So you have what's called a tripwire, or, a lower risk offer. Someone can become a customer. You splinter that back a little bit more. So you have a lead magnet, a way to get more subscribers and emails up front. In the HubSpot world, you think landing page and ebook, something along those lines, right? Mm-hmm. And then what you do is you drive your traffic over to the lead magnet. You get the subscriptions, and you start nurturing everybody through until they become a customer. And then from there, there's profit maximizers. And that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and you've done this, Bob, with the blog optimization package here at Impact. You've followed exactly. The system very clearly. We've implemented it here. I'm
a big fan of it, and it works. It worked for us, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't know the model, you can always Google customer value optimization, and you'll see all kinds of graphics that come up and see what I'm talking about. But don't get too ahead of yourself, because he's recently updated it. And that's what the big update is today is I fell in love with this update. And I am so excited to start implementing this with all of our clients. So basically what the update is, he took that model that he had, and he felt he was missing some things to it. And if you take the inbound marketing methodology, which all of us agencies, we know that, we understand it, we get it. And if you put the two together and like they made love and had a baby, that love child that would come out of that would be what he's calling the value journey canvas.
A conceptual framework love child right there.
So
the best kind.
Bree Rainhell here, one of our strategists, we had her write up an article about this because we're such huge fans. So that's either going to be live on our site today or tomorrow. It may even be live right now. I could be falling behind here.
I mean, we're publishing posts in real time, Bob. We can't even keep up with it.
But let me walk through kind of what it is. What he did was he looked at the research of the 12 stages of intimacy, of how humans make relationships. And assuming that, obviously business is human to human. And he was able to take a model and take from that and translate it to the 12, or actually he ended up doing 8 stages of what it takes to bring a stranger, someone that's completely unaware of your business, and bring them all the way to what makes them a raving promoter. Right. So it sounds very similar to the inbound model, but there's 8 stages. And I think it fills the gaps of some of what the inbound model left off. Mm-hmm. And it starts off with aware, and then goes to engage, subscribe, convert, and convert would be like the tripwire he was talking about. So it's a little bit different than like attract, convert that we might be used to. Excite, and how important it is to excite them after that first conversion. That was missing from the inbound model. Ascend, when they buy that core product and buy your upsells. And then the 2 stages after that are advocate and promote. So really excited for this. I've been mapping out ways that we can use this with clients. We have the article, check that out, but that's the one thing I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah, and I was part of the team at HubSpot that basically came up with the inbound methodology in terms of the modern graphic that most people who follow HubSpot know the inbound methodology know today. And I totally agree with you, Bob. I think it's great that people have, that model came from drawing from other trends and stuff that were out there. It's not like HubSpot has a trademark over convert or delight and stuff like that. I'm just glad Ryan Dice is constantly innovating and making the model as specific as possible for his market.
Awesome. So Nick, what are you keeping your eye on, bud?
Yeah, so this is good because so much of the time I'm just swimming in our business, Bob, and talking to our clients and prospective clients. But occasionally, Bob, I take a step back and I have a Google alert set up for things that have to do with HubSpot's keyword. It's my alma mater. Love the company, and so much of the work that I do and that we all do at Impact revolves around some of the trends and things that they're publishing. So in addition to things like the stock price, which I often will check out, is articles that they've put out. And an article came up, which I come to find out was published in late 2014, but it came up for some reason in the Google alert for them recently. And I think it's absolutely very relevant for us all today, and I thought I'd summarize it for you folks real quick. It's called 5 industry changes keeping CMOs up at night. It was written by Jamie Oetting, a friend of ours over there at HubSpot. She also is the editor of the Agency Post, a great blog for any agency professional to subscribe to. But Bob and the folks listening here live, they basically interviewed some of the bigwigs at some of the big companies, people doing big time marketing, big budgets, people over at Dell, Allstate, Mondelez, Starcom USA, and they discussed their fears for the future. 5 things, Bob, keeping these folks up at night, and I think probably keeping some of the growth leaders on the line up here up at night. Number 1, let's see if you can relate. 1, your job description starting to change, right? As technology, sales, and marketing, sometimes even customer service, it's all starting to come together and have those love childs, as you said, Bob, that the CMO is wondering, what am I actually responsible for here? Where do I fit in the mix? Who has more leverage than I do in some of these departments? CMO is still trying to figure out how to manage that changing, evolving world and ecosystem. 2, the definition of modern marketing is changing. It's not just so much to have do email, to have a modern website, to be active on social media, and people are rethinking their model of different agency partners they have, being reactive versus proactive, maintaining the balance. So there's really no perfect model for how to do that, and CMOs are struggling with, am I doing modern marketing? Am I doing it the right way? Are there certain pieces that I'm missing or not? It's not always clear nowadays with so many different tools and channels to use or to be overlooking. Number 3, it's becoming harder to reach buyers where they are. I thought this was always the case. I didn't know it was becoming harder, right, Bob? I mean, our clients, what we've been trying to do is to get people as early as possible in the funnel, in their buyer's journey that we can. And those research-focused consumers are difficult to know where and how best to communicate with those people that early in the process, when they may not even be aware that they need to be in your market and be in your industry. Still a challenge keeping CMOs up to date. And then number 4, I thought was interesting, is marketing activities are moving in-house.
Yes.
They talked to the CMO, the senior VP of marketing at Allstate, the CMO at Dell, and they basically said, with the amount of data and things that we've got going on, with the agility and stuff that we need, and potentially a poor experience with some agency partnerships, they're basically trying to bring a lot of that in-house and keep that as a point of differentiation.
Nick, I absolutely agree with that. And I think people should be bringing their marketing in-house. And you would think that would be weird for an agency to be saying that, but I truly do believe in it. I think that the company or somebody at the company needs to own marketing. They need to own growth for that company. That needs to be internal. And then maybe they can hire an agency to do some consulting and help them with some of the stuff they can't get done. But bringing that in-house, I completely agree with that.
I hear you, Bob. I mean, the best fit clients for us, the people we're most excited to work with, are people who are running 110 miles an hour down the road doing inbound, and they're just wondering, what might I be missing? How can I crank this up even further? That's the best relationship. So we welcome it. It's definitely, we think more people should do it. All right, number 5, last one here, folks, and then we're done. The struggle between data and
not done for the show, just done for the segment.
I mean, I'm done. Bob's going to take it from here. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, the struggle, this is number 5 here. The struggle between data versus creativity is growing and keeping CMOs up at night. And this is interesting because they asked Dana Anderson, Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at Mondelez, and the balance between data and creativity. And she said, I love this quote, "The dress can be the right size, but that doesn't mean it's going to look good." And it's true, because so often we at HubSpot and here even at Impact, we like to follow the data, let the data and the trends tell you what to do. But we also know, because we're creative folks here, that sometimes you got to go with your gut, or you got to go with what the signs that you're hearing from your target market. We should try that. So you got to strike that balance. We know that, to be sure. And you can't just rely on what the data is telling you and try to beat that number and try to just, every A/B test is going to help bring you up a notch. You might have to go with your gut sometimes and do something really creative to break through. CMOs, it's a tough balance to make when you got a big, complicated program, keeping people up at night. That's what I got here, Bob.
If you have any questions on the 2 topics we just talked about, the 5 things keeping CMOs up at night, or the value journey canvas, leave a comment and we will answer it as soon as possible.
Even just comments if you can relate. It's good for us to know if you're like, yeah, that was relevant, or we're struggling with something similar. We'd love to know. Or
drop us an email, show@impactbnd.com. All right, now we're going to move on to the main segment here that we have. And this week's topic, the big topic that I'm so excited to talk about, is this won't work at my company.
Yes.
Is it a myth? Is it true? Well, let's find out.
We're gonna.
So digging in here, there are so many growth leaders, and a lot of them are doing exceptional things, right? And they're taking off. Their companies are just, they're the miles we're all looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's also so many that feel stuck and they feel frustrated. And they're looking at companies like HubSpot. They're looking at Drift, looking at River Pools, and they're saying, what are these companies doing that I'm not? And how can I be doing the same things that they're doing so I can achieve similar success?
Because they're growing that organic audience, you're saying, right? They're very good at doing the inbound thing.
They're getting not only just growing their audience, but they're acquiring new business and they're delighting their customers all the way through. So, so what I wrote down here was the 9 things. And I know before we get to the this won't work in my company, I'm trying to set the tone here a little bit. So I wrote down the 9 things that growing companies do. So number 1, they're hyper focused on solving for the customer. They're obsessed with customer success. 2, they're data driven and they are able to use that data to optimize. 3, they have success with new leads that come in. They're able to work those leads in a way that turns those into opportunities, that sets a tone, that turns them into customers. 4, their entire sales process is measured from the first touch all the way through, and they know where every breakdown possibly can happen.
Yeah.
5, they're educational by nature, and they're creating amazing content, which goes to number 6 on my list, is that they're known for great content. Not just that they create a bunch, but they're actually known for that great content.
Big difference.
Big difference. And there's a face behind that content. There's a relationship with the people creating that content, whether it be videos, podcasts, blog articles, whatever it is. Number 7, they know their lifetime value of a customer. They know their cost to acquire a customer. They know that ratio, and they're able to work towards building a machine that prints money.
So many companies don't know that. Sophisticated and small and scrappy don't quite know that. That's what I've learned. 8, they have a very aggressive sales and marketing budget, and they're investing in their sales and marketing, and even the principals of the organization, the owners, the executives, they're all investing in the marketing. And 9, the majority of the organization is invested in company growth. Everyone in the company feels that they are part of the growth team, whether they're marketing, sales, customer success, accounting. Everyone is invested in the growth of the company. So these are 9 things that growing companies do. So the next thing I want to go through is, all right, well, if that's what everyone's doing, I understand a lot of people listening here that are growth leaders, they're probably doing some of this stuff already. And that's awesome. But the people are saying, how do I get started? Like, what are the levers I can pull to achieve that type of growth? And there's like 5 things you can do. Again, I have slides here I was going to show. I think we were having a little bit trouble getting that connected. This is the first episode live, so excuse me. Yeah, we'll get you slides eventually, folks. Just stick with us.
We'll include all this in the show notes.
Yeah.
The 5 levers that growth leader can pull. Simple. I'll run through these really quick. 1, investing understanding of your audience, doing that research to understand what they really care about, what actually makes them buy and makes them delighted with your company. 2, define the KPIs and track those in real time and have a system to be able to track those in real time. 3, this is important, be able to have a process for getting the data where the data needs to be, whether it's your sales reps using the CRM, wherever other tools that you need to make sure you have the right data to make decisions and make sure everyone's following that, right? That's a very important lever here to make sure you're doing the things that you need to do to grow.
I mean, at Impact, we have our own KPI dashboard that you built, Bob. I mean, it wasn't just, well, what did HubSpot give us? Or what does the CRM or the system give us? Those must be our KPIs. No, those are data points that can be extrapolated and loaded into the KPIs that you're talking about here.
And number 3 goes where we just talked about, not only do we have that data, but make sure that data is accurate, right? I can't report on a number if our salespeople are not using the CRM, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't know what that number is, how can I manage my business? So that's what this all gets down to, right? Mm-hmm. 4, define the marketing sales SLA. But before even going in detail of that, what I really mean, what I really care about is just know how your leads are supposed to be managed and make sure everyone's managing that way so that the leads are not just hanging out there. That's one of the biggest areas that if you can fix that right away, you're going to start seeing growth immediately. And then number 5 I have is, invest in your company, creating the most persona-centric, helpful, and shareable content for your audience. That will either, there's ways to get short-term results as Ryan Dice will say, the traffic stores are open for business,
Mm-hmm.
but also get that long-term growth that companies like HubSpot and Impact we're seeing because we've been creating content for so long, great content, and it compounds on top of itself. It makes the company more valuable. So
yeah, I'd underscore, Bob, here.
Levels.
Those are 5 things, not just for people to know they should do, because that's sometimes where my brain goes is, well, I know that. I've heard that before. These are the things that you need to be doing regularly, honing and refining regularly, as Bob and this team does with our little growing agency. Is we are religious about the things you just talked about here, Bob, is what I'm realizing.
So why did I say all this, Nick? Let's get to the point. These are the things that all the companies that are growing are doing. But the problem is that there are so many people in charge of sales and marketing, in charge of growth at a company, in charge of a company in general. And they say, that's great, but this won't work at my company. And they also say, why is my company not growing? And you need to put the two together. If you're not doing these things, you're not going to grow like the companies that you admire that are growing. Mm-hmm. So let's talk through this a little bit. Is this won't work in my company a myth? We hear the excuses, right? Some of the excuses, I wrote these down too. Some of the excuses are, my people won't create content. My people won't update the CRM. That sounds nice, but leadership will not invest in me getting the tools, the people, the resources I need to do any of this. And the one that always bugs me is like, we get it, Bob, but we're not like other companies. We're different. Right?
Yeah. Just like all of us other companies are exactly the same, right? Same people, same process, same markets, right?
But what I want to say, and this is going to be one of the first of 2 hard things I'm going to say during this meeting, it's black and white and honest. If your company is not growing and you're not doing these things and you accept the fact that this won't work in my company, shame on you. That's your own fault. If you're in charge of sales and marketing, you're the growth leader, it's your responsibility to make the company grow. And if these are the things that are proven that everyone else is doing, you're not doing them, and you can't get the job done, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm accepting my company to not let these things happen. I'm accepting my company to tell me we don't want to do these things. It's not that your company won't, it might be a leadership issue.
Mm-hmm. And I think we can acknowledge, Bob, that some people on this line are like, no, heck yes, we want to do these things. My senior leadership doesn't get it. Then that's who we're talking to. Yeah. They need to hear this podcast and know. So I just want to acknowledge, I know there's many people who are on board with us, but you are still just as responsible for speaking up to your leadership and saying some of the things, maybe the hard truths that Bob's laying down right now on your behalf.
And so let's dig into this a little bit. So if somebody wants to combat this, and this is another slide I had, but no big deal. I can read. It
was a beautiful slide. I'm just telling people it was just poetic. Go ahead.
I have 6 things that you can do in order to combat this won't work in my company. So the first thing you need to do is you need to define your path for growth. And what I mean by that is you need to write what that plan looks like. You need to set goals for here we are right now, and here's where we need to be. You take all the metrics, you fill out a pro forma chart. You could do it in Excel, Google Sheets, you could do it anywhere. And you need to map out where you are right now and where you need to get to. You need to start there by even knowing, as Stephen Covey would say, you got to start with the end in mind. You need to know what your plan for growth looks like, right? Mm-hmm. And that's easy. A lot of people already have that. If you don't have that, that's step 1. That's probably the easiest of all this.
At least have it drafted. We're not even saying it's completely accurate, but have something quantified along those lines of KPIs and say, this is where I think we're going. Yeah. We're open to interpretation, but we at least have set some lines down.
Now, you might think that number 2 on my list is to say, okay, start building the systems and processes for your team to follow, but there's a step in between. And this is probably one of the most important steps, is you need to get your team aligned. You need to get your team actually bought in to doing any of this before it's actually going to happen. Because if they're not bought in and you're just giving them, this is what we need you to do and this is your job and just do it, and they're not fully bought in, you're going to have the same results you're having right now. People are going to say that they're going to reject it and it's not going to get done, and you're going to go back to the same excuse, this won't work in my company. But you can get them bought in. A couple of things that you can do to get them bought in is start with why. Start with the Simon Sinek. Here's our growth plan. Here's examples of companies that have done it. And this is how it could be fun in this organization, right? Get them really, really super bought in. Ask them questions. See if they have any ideas on how to do it. Make them go out and do the research to find out how other companies are growing and come back with suggestions of what we can do as our company. most likely they're going to come back with the same 9 things that I already told you in the beginning of the session, because that's what the other companies are growing or doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would offer, Bob, we would help you do that. If somebody feels like they're not feeling comfortable to have that conversation with their teams, like that's what we do all day, is we would be happy to help have these conversations with the right people on your team.
It's so important to have the team aligned before you go to number 3, which is develop the systems that your team can then operate in, and have your team help you build those systems, opposed to you just forcing things down their throats, because they're going to reject it, and you're going to have a much harder time forcing things through if they're not bought in.
It's the curse of not invented here. If it's from the outside and our team didn't come up with it, it must not be as good as what we could do. Yeah.
Included in those systems too, this is a really important part. You're going to need to define that in their job descriptions. When I say that this is your job at this company, that you have to create content, that you have to operate the CRM to this playbook. When you mix that into their job description, you set that expectation. This is what's expected of you in this company. And people are going to say, how's my performance? So you can pull out their job description and say, are you doing these things? That should be part of the systems, right?
It was in my job description, Bob, wasn't it? I mean, before I signed on, that was an expectation. So when those blog posts came around, and of course I didn't feel like I had enough time to do it, I'm reminded that that's part of my job. That's part of everybody's job here at Impact. And I knew that from day one. Exactly. Even if I did, you've updated the job descriptions multiple times as you've learned new things you want people to be responsible for.
And
just do it.
We figure we're trying to grow as an organization. We brought in an extra salesperson. Nick, you're selling for Impact, but here you are doing a podcast. Now, think about this in your organization, right? Not you, Nick, but the audience. How many of your salespeople would actually hop on and do a Facebook Live show, podcast, video like Nick's doing right now? So, Nick, why are you doing this?
Well, I mean, I really felt that we needed to get some of the sound bites and the thoughts that we talk about all the time, Bob, that you talk about internally, or we talk about with prospects and clients in a program. We need to create a centralized place where we discuss these things. We have a little bit of a dialogue with the audience in the market. So for me, it's definitely a benefit to not only practice articulating these things and getting feedback from the community, but indeed this content can be available now to refer back to people who are going to bring up, if I hear that's not going to work here, Nick, I can say, we understand that, we've heard that all the time, and here's a discussion we've had about it. And what our founder and CEO has to say from his experience working with hundreds of companies and building up our firm as well. So for me, it makes a lot of sense. And I consider it an extension of what I do, which is trying to communicate and educate people and get them motivated to take action. And this just helps me do it a little bit more at scale.
So number 1, define that plan for growth. 2, get your team aligned. 3, develop the systems. Number 4, sayings and rewards. This is positive reinforcement for your team. Can you get sayings in the organization like everyone here creates content, or if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist? Is there anything that you can do to really get this as part of your culture? And that's what, I mean, those are 2 sayings that we have in our company. So that's where this comes from. What about rewards? Can you get people, can you have like a award, maybe that's content creator of the month, to somebody that maybe drives in the most traffic and new subscribers to your site per month, or somebody that just killed it with the CRM every month. Make that, again, get it ingrained in your culture so that it's the way of life. And we are a growth organization. Our culture is around growth. And these are the things that we do. Number 5. And I said there's one of 2 hard things I was going to say when I challenge you as a leader.
Real talk.
And here's the second one that's going to be really hard. But it's the reality. If you have people that really won't do this in your organization, I don't care if they're legacy or whatever it is, but your business is not growing and someone's unwilling or unable to do the things that you need to do to grow, just like all the other companies are growing, then you need to let them go. You have to make people changes. Again, this could be a leadership thing more than it is a tactics and strategy thing. If you have people on the team that operate legacy sales ways, or, hey, I have a CRM, it's my brain, or listen, I'm not a writer, and you gave them all the tools to succeed. You built the systems to make it really easy for them to create content, and they're not doing it, then you need to question if they should still be in your organization.
Not that you don't love them. It's not that you don't love them. It just might be that the organization has evolved, as all organizations do. The market has moved, as all markets do, and they might be a better fit somewhere else. They might even thank you.
That's it.
Yeah.
Number 6, and the last one on the list is consider outside help. These things are not easy and they take years to figure out. I'm not trying to sell our services, but you might want to hire some kind of person to come in that's seen this happen before and knows the playbooks and can help you implement the playbooks, help you get your team aligned, help you put all the measurements and all the systems in place. That would probably be a very good use of some budget to get things turned around and get things moving on.
And I want folks to know on the line here that Bob's walking the walk on that one. I was very impressed when I came to Impact. It's not like Impact is throwing money around or anything like that. This is a small, scrappy organization, relatively speaking, to major global corporations. And Bob has invested from the beginning in processes to help us go agile, to improve our sales playbooks, our service delivery model. I've just been very impressed that if there is some problem, some extra resources, Bob thinks about how he can help improve the machine, improve the team that we have here. It's a risk, clearly.
Thanks, Nick.
I mean, I'm telling you, man, I appreciate that you do that. And it's such a big help for us.
Awesome. And, I did want to kind of go in a little bit further into a story. I mean, you mentioned how we brought a consultant for Agile and we felt that was really important and we could have done that on our own, but we decided that we wanted to go faster and get it done right. We want someone that's done it before and has the playbook to come in, and it worked out very well. But I want to also go to another point too. The time that I heard this won't work in our company, if I go back probably 2 years ago, from a marketing standpoint, that's when I was hearing this won't work in our company, when I was wondering, why are all these other agencies creating content and they have everybody in the company doing? Why is HubSpot able to do that? Or why are all these other companies doing it and we're not? And I heard from my marketing team at the time, but these people won't write in your company. They're too busy. They're not going to do it. And I said, bullshit. I said, as the marketing leader here, or as the leader of this organization that needs this thing to grow, and we're telling our clients they need to be doing this, and I believe in it, everyone here needs to be creating content. And we were able to do it. And I tell you what I did, but if you want to know what I did, just go back about 10 minutes. And those are all the things that I did to get my people or get the team doing what they need to be doing, which is being part of our growth machine, creating content that we needed to get done in order for us to be successful.
And here's the thing: these growth leaders need to hear, folks. If it's not you and your organization, helping lead that charge, you still need to bring the message up to them that it's not easy. We understand that. Yes, winning the business, growing a community, and beating your competition is not easy, clearly, but that should not be mistaken with it cannot or will not work. All of these things, Bob, I'm sure will tell you, and I'm certainly learning, in these first months here, it's not easy, but it certainly can be done. And that's why you need to really keep it in focus and get back on the horse month after month until everybody comes along. There's still people today, myself included, who are late on blog posts and stuff like that. But I'm committed that the next time I'm going to be more prepared. The next time I'm going to be more proactive in my planning. So it's not easy.
Ramona does not like when you're late on your blog posts.
And I love it. And I'm like, you're right. And I don't try to make excuses for it.
Yeah. Ramona's got a publishing calendar she has to hit. And it's part of her job description. Everyone knows they need to be creating content. And that's how we made it work in our organization.
I got a brand to build too. I got to remind myself that I gotta do it. Make time for it.
Hi, Erica Doobie, one of our favorite Impact alums, tuning in on the live.
What's up, Erica?
She said hi to me, so I'd say hi back to her. So we want to share a couple of resources here too. I know I have a couple. I think, Nick, you have another one you want to add to the list.
Yes.
To help make this change in your organization. So Marcus Sheridan, a very good friend of ours, he did a session at Inbound last year and used to be on the homepage of inbound.com. But his session was called How to Turn Your Sales Teams into Raving Fans for Inbound. A phenomenal watch. And again, we'll go deeper into some of the things we didn't have time to cover today. Another awesome resource that we have is a book that really transformed the way we did sales here at Impact. It's called The Sales Acceleration Formula by Mark Roberge, former head of sales for HubSpot, another friend of ours. So those are two great resources. And by the way, both of those gentlemen, will be at Impact Live. So if
Boom,
you want,
Impact Live, July 31st to August 2nd, folks, in Hartford. It's going to be fantastic. I'm sorry, Bob. I couldn't.
So if you consume the resources, you have questions, that's part of the event. Impact Live is very intimate. So you can go and you can talk to these guys and ask them the detailed questions of how they did these things inside their organizations. But Nick, you have another resource you want to add as well, right?
Yeah, Bob, I had one, as you know, when we were doing our show notes and stuff that I had already picked out. But in the last couple of days, Bob, I finally downloaded and started listening to Tim Ferriss's book. If you're a Tim Ferriss fan, The 4-Hour Workweek, I finally started listening to The 4-Hour Body. And I thought I love that content and what he talks about for improving your body and using simple tools. But as I'm listening to it, I'm like, you know what? The same things that stand in the way of us building the right habits to be as healthy as we want are the same bad habits and mental blocks that are keeping marketers and sales and growth leaders, however you want to refer to yourselves, as from moving ahead. They have the same data issues. They have the same habit issues. They have the same bad social issues, whatever it is. So I recommend, if you haven't listened to that book in general, I think everybody is concerned about being as healthy as they can be, certainly. But those same habits and the same system you could set up, it totally applies to how you set up your sales and marketing day, your growth day.
Awesome. So let's give you guys some next steps here. We did go through the 6 things that you can do, but really quick, the first thing you need to do is you need to make the mental shift. Are you ready to accept that this won't work at my company is just a myth? And if you are, if you're not, then go back and listen to this episode again and dig into the resources. If you don't believe us, challenge me, send me an email if you think I'm wrong.
That'd be cool. I'd love to hear an exception.
But I think anything can happen in your company. I think anything can happen in our company as long as we focus on it, we prioritize it, and we make it happen. And we should make things happen.
And you got the right team members aligned with you, right, Bob? And you've had to shift some people in and out over the years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We've made people changes. We have the team that works for us. So that's number 1 is make the mental shift, and 2, check the resources and then go right off the top of that list and start making your growth plan and start getting some buy-in from your team. So that's how I would get started here.
Cool.
So Nick, can you just give us one more reminder, Impact Live? Give us some the details.
I mean, in all seriousness, folks, I don't want to sound over promotional, but we here at Impact are very committed to creating as much value as possible for our community. And what we realize is in our services engagements, not every company is going to be a good enough fit to work with us and fully hire our teams. But we know there's so many awesome folks, people who are listening right now, who we want to get closer to. We want to help you in some way that could scale. And that's where Impact Live comes from, is the ability to bring people together for an affordable price for the value and the people who are coming, and to create an experience for you where you can walk away with real value and actually get stuff done. So July 31st is the workshop day. I'll be leading. August 1st and 2nd. It's on the Impact website. Request an invitation. We'd love to have the most committed, the best, and the brightest there to meet each other. The attendees are as much part of the experience as some of the amazing speakers that we've got on here.
So at this point, I'd like to invite our social media correspondent, Iris, on.
Iris.
And Iris, I know she's got to hop on here. So we want to know, like, what's going on in social media. What's everybody saying, and what questions do people have? And I'm not sure if we're having trouble with Iris hopping on, because I assume she would have hopped on by now.
All right. Hi, Bob.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Iris.
Sorry, I just had a little bit of trouble. How's everyone doing?
Awesome.
All right. Happy to be here.
What are the people saying?
All right. Well, a couple of people are wondering. Darren is wondering what software we're using to use this podcast.
We will include that in the show notes. It's Open Something. Christine, I'm not sure if you want to I'm not even sure if she could turn her audio on. It's Open Something. We'll include that in the show notes. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, for sure. It was no small feat. I just want to thank Christine and Iris, and even you, Bob. We just, took time and effort in planning and preparation that we squeezed into a busy schedule that didn't have the time, but we said we're going to make the time.
Yes.
So nights and weekends and some willing team members is how it got on here.
Awesome. What else, Iris? Anything else good?
All right. Well, Laura and Andrea said that they can't wait for next week's podcast and they really enjoyed it. So
it's going to be good. What do we have on deck, Bob?
Seeing you guys there.
Awesome. So next week, our episode is going to be around planning your vision for growth. So I'm super excited about that. I have a ton of resources I want to share in that area. I've recently dove deep into some of the masters of developing a vision. So I can't wait to share some of that. So that's next week. So I guess let's bring this bad boy home today. Mm-hmm. So you just heard the first episode of the Impact Show, where we discussed the value journey canvas. We talked about the 5 things that are changing for a CMO. And our main topic today is the myth that this won't work at my company. Spoiler alert, if you're watching this from the end and going back, it is just a myth.
We've debunked it, yeah.
If you've liked what you heard, please give us a like, leave a comment, send us an email. Tell us how you're feeling about this. We want to make this better. We want to solve for you. This show is all for you, and we just want to do whatever we can to be a better servant for our audience here.
Yep, and it's just one more program in addition to the other programs we do, right, Bob? That's
it. And what I will say is, if you like this, then please consider giving us a 5-star review on iTunes. We do want to be discovered by more people. And I will say we will have a special prize for the first 10 people that leave us a review on iTunes. Prizes. Hopefully 5 stars. Hopefully 5 stars. After you do, all you do is just send us an email so we know you did it. And we'll make sure that you are entered to be one of the first 5 people to give us a review.
And Bob, are we going to stick around to answer some questions on the Facebook after we conclude our live broadcast today? Because I know that there's probably some other questions that are already coming up.
Sure. Well, we'll do it right through the chat, right in the comment pane. Absolutely.
See us there.
All right. Until next time, get out there and make it happen.
Thanks, everybody.